advice on the topic. Are we done? We're good? There's construction by my house and it's just, I have no control over it, so we're just gonna go with it. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for stopping by. Today is gonna be yet another installment of the Surviving Your 20s series. And today we're gonna talk about, I'm not sure quite what to call it yet. We'll figure out the exact term I'm looking for as we progress. But basically, today's message, if you will, is about those moments where we really beat ourselves up for not being as productive or accomplishing as much as we had hoped or imagined. When you get to your 20s, it's really where you start that shift into adulthood, and part of adulthood happens to be producing. Now, no matter what your definition of producing is, whether that's like super capitalist idea of producing or just like producing on a small scale for your life and what you want for your life, your 20s is really where more is expected of you as far as producing goes. And because your 20s is really where that shift starts, it can be a little bit difficult to learn how to manage that without getting overwhelmed. And part of that overwhelm sometimes is putting up your standards really, really high, which could be a good thing because you're really striving to do well. However, we're human, we make mistakes, we have bad days, we are not a non-exhaustible resource. Is non-exhaustible the right word? Basically, our energy is limited, we'll put it that way. So no matter how high those standards are, it's very possible to fall short sometimes, or even a lot of the time. So this message today is really about giving yourself grace. I think that's the title, giving yourself grace. So here's my little advice, unsolicited advice to that. You gotta treat yourself like a good friend. Think of it this way. You have a good friend and they have all these goals they want to achieve and they have a deadline and they work towards it. They're like bucking their head down, doing the work, trying their best, putting all their best efforts forward, and then they fall short. If you're watching from the outside and you've seen this friend do the work and they still didn't get to the exact point that they've imagined, but they definitely worked up towards it, would you A, tell them they're an idiot and that they're really doing a bad job? Or B, remind them of all the hard work they've done and ask themselves to go a little gentler on themselves because they really are doing a badass job. I don't know what kind of friends you have or what kind of friend you are, but for me, I'm gonna go for option B. I've just seen them do a whole crap ton of work. I'm not gonna tell them that they're doing a bad job. They just have a little more work to do. But I'm also gonna remind them it's okay to take a break and it's okay to like sit back and chill for a minute so that they have more of the right energy to keep going forward. I know it's kind of hard to sometimes put ourselves in that outside perspective and like step out of our situation to really look into what's happening and evaluate it as if we're not the person it's happening to. But if you can manage to figure out how to do that, it's a really useful tool in a lot of situations, and this is a big one. You gotta treat yourself like a good friend. You gotta step out and evaluate the whole process and not just the thing that you didn't get. Now I know some of you are probably listening to this advice and thinking to yourself, okay, but if I take a step back and I slow down or I take a break or I stop for a moment, I feel lazy, like I'm not motivated, like I'm not doing enough, like I'm a low life. Here's my thoughts on that. If you are concerned that by taking a break, you are perceived as lazy, you're probably not. Here's why. A lazy person isn't concerned about if they're lazy or not. most of the time. If your first thought when you hear the words take a step back, take a breather, take a break, refresh yourself, recuperate is, does that make me lazy? Does that make me not worth it? Am I being unproductive? No. If that's your first thought, then yes, that means you need to take a break. A lazy person isn't wondering if they're lazy. I hope that's making sense. I feel like I can't say it any clearer. So my last little tidbit of unsolicited advice on the topic is to treat your life more like a sketch than a blueprint. Now, granted, there are definitely certain goals and situations where a little more planning than sketch level planning is involved. Let's say you want to be a doctor. You can't just study anything if you want to be a doctor. There's a certain curriculum you have to follow, there's certain skills you have to learn, there's certain classes you have to take. Yes, for things like that, you will need more of a blueprint than a sketch. But for your overall life and the overall things you want to accomplish that are a little more generalized, the long-term goal of how you want your life to look, make it a sketch. Make it a sketch. Do not blueprint it. You will set yourself up for failure and disappointment. And not because you're not capable of reaching it, but because nothing happens as we expect it to happen. Sometimes it does, but never in the way that we expect it. I'm not trying to sound negative. I'm just telling you what every person my age and older has ever told me and that I have experienced myself. For the things that are sketch-like, think of it this way. When you have a sketch, you still have room to erase things and change it based on what's gonna work, what is not gonna work. Now that you have new information, now that new things have entered into your life, with a sketch you can change it. You can change it, but the big picture is still the same. But with a blueprint, it's pretty much set in stone. If you've paid an architect to make a blueprint, it's set in stone. You've thought of the material, you're about to build it, you've probably dug out the ground already or cleared out the field or whatever, but it's fixed more or less. A sketch, there's a lot more freedom, but the big picture is the same. You're gonna give yourself a lot less stress and a lot less anxiety if you remember that it's a sketch and not a blueprint. So that's all I have for today. I hope this was helpful. I hope it resonated with you. If this was a message that you needed to hear, I'm glad that I was able to dawn that upon you. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe. Like and thumbs up are the same thing. Why? Share it with your friends if you feel like they need to hear it too. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.